So looking at the problems in the TEKS connection on number 32 from 2003, what was the verb?
Find.
Okay. Let's just go problem by problem. So the concept on that one,
Like rates.
It looks like rates.
Yeah, find each.
She's from the total on.
so the context would be shopping, real world situation.
Yeah,
Sounds
bought.
about right.
So I think one of the vocabulary words would be each.
Each to let them know that that is that unit.
And then we'll find more vocabulary as we keep working through the problems.
Dollar
Simple
amount.
division.
The TEK says
Right,
use
multiplication.
multiplication and division.
Now to look at each question and the formats that it's written in and the answers? Okay.
32 looks pretty straightforward. Verbal.
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 So we have a verbal and
With
then
an
expression,
exact-
equation, table, and visual or graph for the questions. And then our answer was an exact answer.
Exact
Exact
answer.
answer.
Okay. Answer. Okay.
And number 15,
Also
Verbal.
verbal with an exact answer.
so as we look at this, this tells us what our test items need to look like.
Right.
Lots of verbal and exact answers.
So the critical components of our instruction based on what we've seen is the next step here. So what we looked at some vocabulary, each and ratio, combination, equivalent. What other things based on this do we need to make sure to include in our instruction? We can just brainstorm for a second.
The vocabulary would be, like Lori said, the combination key. Introducing different vocabulary with combination. And each, make sure they understand each can also be unit rate.
So from MSTAR, we probably want to make sure we incorporate those strip diagrams because that was brought up in that MSTAR training that we went to. So we want to incorporate that.
It was a good visual. Good, the visual representation from the CRA model. Looks like we just need like various situations
Real
where
world situation.
multiplication and division are involved in different ways.
Yes.
The stuff that we're going to test, I want us to make sure that we have our I can statements written in our kid-friendly language. So I'll open a Word doc, and John, will you turn on the projector?
I can write ratios.
Would
I
you
can
arrange these?
What about
Find an
equivalent
equivalent
ratios?
ratio.
Yes, go Jimmy.
I can create ratio tables.
Yes.
I
You
can
said
use-
find, I like that.
I can use ratio type tables to solve for future events. I don't know how you would.
Maybe
If that
real
makes sense. If you
world
understand.
and
Like I can use strip diagrams to
Compare.
express or compare whatever.
Compare ratios.
Compare ratios or.
Hey, is there anything that we're missing from the first three SGOs?
graphs.
Okay. So now that we have our I can statements, we can write them on the board in kid-friendly language, and the kids can monitor their learning every day on if they can or can't, at the end of the day, do what was on the board. And getting to the test, go back through and look at the statements and see if they're ready. So let's look at our test blueprint that we have used before when making our tests. Let's determine the specific concepts that we're going to put on the test, and then make sure that we use the percentages of low, medium, and high questions. I know the one that we usually use says 1, 2, and 3 is the same thing. We need them to use multiplication and division, so those types of situations.
Basically, real world rate problems.
Okay, so now we need to decide on how many questions of each one of these that we want to go into our test.
Okay, so how many questions are on our test in the first place?
Are we going with 16 again?
We have
We want a fourth to be low level or level 1.
right.
We want a fourth to be high, and then half of them to be level 2 or moderate level of rigor.
So maybe for now, if we make predictions, make one moderate, one high, and we can always adjust these as we go.
So let's decide who's going to find or write which questions. We have 16 of them and there are 6 of us. If you want to break up into teams of 2, what do y'all want to do?
Teams of 2 sound good.
We're doing multiplication and division, and the other one that you said, scale drawing. Is that what you said?
I did not say scale.
He said unit rate and use
What is he doing?
making
Which- are you under
predictions.
that
This is like a
Level
straight
one.
up level 1 if we're looking
So,
for it.
put
Or
that
what's
one
this
right
one?
here.
I went under the word,
This one here?
6-3-C.
Oh, this?
words.
I like number 9.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I did too.
Mine doesn't show that.
None of these are level 3.
Which question?
Well,
are
can we
looking
change
at
it to a level 3? Think about
We're
it. Like,
gonna
if
have
we did
to.
this and we did different
Oh, he's
answer
on the
choices,
second
maybe.
page.
I have a question.
Alright,
Second-
I'm
If you
scroll
to
down.
clarify,
Second
if we look
page.
at 37, so we chose 15,
This
but
is
let's look
very,
at
very
37 as
basic
a level
question.
2.
Three
Is there any way to
35, 6 hours
change the
worth of
answer
anyway.
choices to bump
Yes.
it up to a level
That's the
3?
level.
Okay, so let's look over our questions that we have picked out that we think would be good questions for our tests. Let's see if they match what we think they should.
This is the unit rate, and we decided we were gonna have one low and one moderate.
So number 1 is a low level, 1 step.
We're gonna take the test that last week before the holiday break. So we'll meet on the 2nd, after lunch at 2 o'clock, so we can look at our data.
Okay?
Sounds
Good.
fine.
Okay, so let's just make sure we bring our computers, that way we can discuss the data in Aware.
Guys, let's make sure we don't forget to thank Mr. Hill.
Oh, yeah, we do have to do that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
For
This
this
is great.
Yes, it was.